Join me in this week's video as I share with you the most easiest way to make puff pastry samsas. Hi everyone and welcome back to Sonya's Prep. Today I am super excited because we're making one of my all-time favorite meals, Gozhgizhges or samsas that are made with dough that is multi-layered, almost like a puff pastry dough, and I love it. It's my favorite. I have released a previous video on how I made these samsas with my own dough that I made, which is not with a puff pastry dough, it's just a regular old dough. But today I wanted to share with you a hack that I learned from someone else using a pre-made dough called Malawach. It's very convenient. The dough is perfect and so flaky and incredible. I don't know if you hear that crunch. It's absolutely delicious. I can't wait to take you along and show you just how I make it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Now let's get into the recipe. For the Samsa filling, I have here about 2 cups worth of beef and a little bit of lamb. This is the amount of lamb that I'll be using, and I specifically chose lamb with a little bit of fat because it adds a depth of flavor in the samsas. So as you see here, I cut them into thin strips and then I dice all of the meat up and I place them into a bowl. The great thing about samsas is that you can really use any type of meat that you like. You could omit beef altogether and just use chicken or turkey, or even put in just mushrooms and onions if you want to do this vegan. The next ingredient is onions. I use regular white or yellow onions. It does not matter which one. And you just need to make sure that you have double the amount of onions as to the meat. So if you have 2 cups of meat like we have here today, you need to make sure that you have at least 4 cups of onions. And the reason that we do that is because it provides a lot of juiciness to the samsas as well as tenderizes the meat. After adding in the onions, I'm going to just move everything around just to gauge if I do have the 1:2 ratio meat to onions. And once I mix things, I do notice that definitely I have about 2 cups of meat and 4 cups of onions. So now we're ready to season our meat filling. I add in about 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of chicken powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of coriander, and 2 teaspoons of black pepper. You can definitely adjust all of these seasonings obviously to your taste and preference. I mix everything really well using the best utensils that you have, which are your hands. And by doing this motion with mixing, you're just separating all of the onion bits and incorporating the onion all throughout the meat. For the puff pastry dough that we'll be using, I'll be using this Malawach frozen package. It is the easiest way to make your puff pastry by actually not making it yourself, but you're getting this pre-made dough. I find this in most kosher supermarkets in the freezer section. If you're in the New York area, I know that Aaron's has it, Safe, Kinneret, so many kosher supermarkets carry it. If you know of a supermarket in your area that carries it, please list it below and help everybody out. This is an amazing dough. It is so flaky and it just works perfectly in this recipe. To use the Malawach dough, I take it out of the plastic filling and it's lightly dusted with some flour and roll it into a log. And then I cut
the log into about 4 to 5 sections. It all depends on the size that you want your samsas. I find that cutting it into 5 sections is the perfect size for the samsas that we enjoy eating. I then push down on each segment that I just cut and lightly dust them with additional flour if it needs it, but usually it does not need that much at all. And then I use a rolling pin and roll out each segment into a perfect circle. To the center of each circle, I add in 1 heaping tablespoon of the meat filling, and this is how I close it. I take and I pinch a section of the dough, and then I pull another segment towards it, and I just keep going around until everything of the dough is pinched together, and then you're going to be left with a big hole in the center, and then I just pinch that hole all together to close up the entire seam. Here I'll just demonstrate again how I do this. I take each segment, roll it out into a circle, place a tablespoon of the meat filling inside, and then pinch it. If you've never made samsas before and are intimidated by the pinching process of it, don't be worried. There's definitely a way that you can do this without having to pinch it into a circle. You could just simply close it up into a triangle by folding the flaps of the dough together into the center. So don't be worried if you are having a difficult time pinching these, because I definitely did struggle in the very beginning as well. As you can see, I use my thumb to smush the filling inside so that it helps me pinch the dough in place. I grew up with my grandmother always making this dough from scratch, and I saw how much it took to do it, and I always wanted to eat these samsas, but I didn't want to go through all the trouble of making this puff pastry dough, and it does not come out the same by using just regular puff pastry that we get from the store in the freezer section. It just has to be this malawach dough because it has like a phyllo dough texture inside of it as well. So I do highly recommend everyone try this recipe, and if you do, let me know in the comments down below or tag me on Instagram and let me know how it turned out. Once you've pinched all of your samsas, place them onto a baking tray. I use a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, and I do egg wash the tops with 1 egg. I happen to have a lot of egg yolks in my fridge because of baking recipes that I've been doing. But this time I just used an egg yolk, but normally I would always use an entire egg, scramble that up, and then baste it with a basting brush and put some either sesame seeds over the top, but this time I'm using everything but the bagel seasoning. I love either way and it comes out completely delicious. And these are the triangle closed samsas that I was telling you about if you're having a difficult time folding it into a circle. I bake these samsas in a preheated oven set at 400 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes until they're perfectly golden and crispy. Oh, while my first tray is baking in the oven, my little kiddos, who are never too far behind me, are helping me in the kitchen, and they love getting involved and participating. I would say that one package of Malawach dough makes about 2 to 3 trays of samsas. I didn't want to use up all of the samsas in one day. I wanted to pre-make them and then freeze them raw so that I can whip them out whenever I need it for Shabbat or when I have guests coming. So this is how I freeze them. I take plastic that comes from the dough, place it onto a baking tray and put them single layer onto it and freeze them just like that. After about 30 minutes of them being frozen, I take them out, place them into a Ziploc bag, and they are ready for me whenever I need it. And to bake it, I just place them frozen into the baking tray and bake them for 40 minutes. Look at how gorgeous these samsas came out. They're amazing.
Now that you've seen how they are made and how incredible they look, it's time for our taste test. It's just so good. The dough is very, very flaky, crunchy. You guys have to try it. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. There's a reason why I don't do taste tests, because they're weird.
Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I'm gonna leave the taste test to the professional right here, my husband. I am so happy that he enjoyed it. I hope you guys give this recipe a try and let me know how you like it.